So welcome back. Today we're gonna discuss all the situations where you can set up Feng's 1+2 Sabaki parry. This will be my last video about the parry, but I just love it so much that I made a sheet and found the moves that work with it. I think I didn't find any move, no, I mean all the moves, sorry. And some moves only cover jabs, for instance, and some cover all the options, but I will say that when I showcase the move. The first three moves overall most people know. This one is down for 2-2, his safe wall bounce move, which works against jabs, down for 1s and down for 2s frame wise, but certain down for 2s with some delay can still beat it. The next one is down for 3. Maybe the most used one, works perfect against jabs but can get hit by down for 2 sometimes. On paper it should work, and it does, but sometimes it just doesn't. Overall I have to say that if the opponent delays his down for 2, it's very risky to do. The next one is back 4. Back 4 is one that only works if the opponent does a slower mid. Like this. If they do jabs, it doesn't work. Sometimes in this video you will see me fuck up, but that's not because it doesn't work. It's because it really depends on the range here. For instance, here jabs hit, but sometimes they just don't, because on paper you're -9 and the parry starts with 11, with 9 frames and... No, sorry, wait. The parry starts at 2 to 9 frames and you're -9, so you should be able to parry after the 11th frame. The next one is back Campo 2, which is a very good one, which not a lot of people use actually, but the problem is that the pushback only makes it worth it versus down for 1s and down for 2s, for instance. Jabs mostly don't have enough range, so they will hit later and then you still get hit if they jab you afterwards, which most people don't, because it's -9. Why would they jab? You could just duck, so they rather use a checking mid. The next one is his wild standing 4, also a very common one. -7 covers all the options. You have to be aware it leaves a little bit of distance between you and the opponent, so some moves can still go through it. Sometimes even though you have the perfect frames, it still doesn't work. So now we come to the a little bit gimmickier. Is that correct? And you will see them before I actually do them, because I don't know how to do it otherwise, and I'm shit at cutting. So you just stay with me while I'm talking out of my ass. Most of them are useful, but kinda gimmicky. So the first one is up forward 1, which gets everyone. I swear, hands down, this move looks so awkward, it fucking gets everyone. And I use it since TKN Tournament 2, and every time I do it the first time, it hits. The next one is 2 till the 1, I think. Which is kind of an iffy one because it leaves you in full crouch. But for instance, if you have a wild standing 1-2 like I do, you can parry here. But of course, if they're wild standing 4, it doesn't work. So this one heavily depends on the character. The next one is 4-2, very useful at the wall, because if you see the first one is not a counter hit, you don't want to finish the string anyway, and then he thinks, okay, it's my turn, but it really isn't. And still at the wall, you can get a decent combo if you pick up with 1+4 into shoulder, for instance. And there are many other ways to still get decent damage. The next one is the new one, down forward 4-3. I have to admit that if the opponent ducks it, this is completely useless. But I told you in another video how to set up to them not ducking. So please do that before you throw this out. I think I didn't even do the 5th one. Did I? I think I didn't. Oh yeah, that's wild standing 4 again. Very good, man, very good. I have so many that I really have to hurry up here. So sorry if I don't go into detail like I usually do, but those are really 1,000 ones. And you really have to find which one for you works and which doesn't, because there are some ones that are very, very gimmicky and very situational. But I have to say, the ones that are situational are actually hitting for me the most. With the moves, if I do a down for free, most people don't actually press buttons afterwards because they know, okay, this is coming. So they either press a kick or just press nothing, which is honestly the idea. No, I break the floor. I broke the floor, no. Which is honestly the best idea. Just sidestep, and if he does the 1+2, he dies for it anyway. The next one is down forward 3+4, which doesn't work against jabs because against most jabs because it leaves a lot of distance. So most characters can't even jab here, but Dragunov can. So as you can see, it covers conveniently the best options from 10 to 15 frames. The next one is back 3, very, very gimmicky, but with those moves, people are not usually seeing them, so sometimes they just press buttons afterwards. This one is kind of particular because it has a high extension, so if people are good, this one isn't as useful. But sometimes if I want to get out of the wall, I just use back 3, even though up 2 is the better option for that. The next one is back 2, 3, 4, 2. So good people will always low parry the second hit, then you have to delay it. But if you actually do, and they get hit by one of the hits, they actually are in crouch, which most people don't know, and you can actually parry every while standing 1 or while standing 2. But if he does a while standing 4, of course you're fucked. The problem is that it has some pushback. So for instance, my while standing run doesn't even reach here, which is kind of shitty. But for instance, while standing 2 it covers. So this heavily depends on the character and if the opponent knows that he's in crouch. If he doesn't know, that is not good. Same one goes for this here. He's in crouch again, so if he knows, he can try to interrupt you and then he gets fucked. Although most people again do while standing 4, but if you can force that with the parry, you can of course just step the while standing 4. The next option is forward 1+2, which also has some pushback, which works against checking mids, but if they jabs will whiff or hit you. So against jabs, this isn't as useful. Same situation like fish hook, just with the difference of a little bit more distance between the opponents. But most people like to check you mid afterwards because it's a safe launcher that is still -9, so you can't move, and then a down forward 1 is actually a very, very good option. So now we are almost done. We are back to the last few. I'm sorry, this is a very, very gimmicky video, but we have to cover those as well, right? Because sometimes you just need shit like this to squeeze out damage that you didn't really earn. The next one that we're gonna cover is Magic 4, which in theory is weaker than back 1 at the wall. But with this, it is actually better. It is a little bit slower and sometimes loses in the open to jabs, but actually at the wall with no pushback, it doesn't lose to jabs. And it has the same counter hit property while being instead of -10, -8, which sets up the beautiful parry in most scenarios, which makes the move with more range and less frames on block actually better at the wall than back 1 in my opinion. But that's opinionated. The next one is forward 4, which is very annoying to deal with, and because most people do the down back version and hold down back to create space, a lot of people try to rush you down with certain mids, with slower mids, because they know that if they jab and you do down back, you actually kill them. So they try to check you, for instance, with a dash down for 1 or something, and then the parry can work wonders. The next one is up 3+4, 3+4, 3, which is a very shitty move, which is only usable in ranked because people suck there. And if they don't duck it, then yeah, have fun with it. But please don't use this against better opponents. Please never use this against better opponents. Here's one that I really like against better opponents actually. If I'm at the wall with Feng Wei, I usually like to do sidestep 2. But most people expect me to either do the jab or a mid. So that if I get them to not duck, I like to do back turn 4 for wall splat if they press buttons, because it's 10 frames and I'm +3. And if they don't press buttons and they think afterwards I can attack, they actually can't, because it's -8 and -8 means hello, you gonna get launched, which is crazy good. And this actually works a lot on higher level, for me at least. So that's about it. Some honorable mentions that are not that honorable, but back 3-3, the second extension is always a good setup. Is also a good setup for the Sabaki parry. Down 4-4 at its own at the wall is also a good setup for the Sabaki parry. Yeah, and I think that's most of the moves I wanted to showcase. Sometimes I do it after while standing 1-2 on block if I have the mental frames to do so, if I actually conditioned my opponent enough. And you can also do it from the first from 4-3+4 1+2 on block, but you will never use that because this move is kind of shitty. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm a big fan of the Sabaki parry. I think every good Feng player should abuse the shit out of it. You can get heavily punished for it, so keep that in mind. But what in the world does Feng have where he doesn't get backdashed or something? So you put yourself anytime at risk, and you just have to be careful when you do it and when you just don't do it. Best advice in the world. Keep in mind when you do it and when you don't do it, kids.